victory. It'll be one of many emotional farewells to the liner CANBERRA, which retires later this year. Among the guests at a commemorative dinner on board is Baroness Thatcher, who ordered the ship to the South Atlantic 15 years ago. The Duke of York, who fought in the war as a helicopter pilot, is also there.
15 years after he landed his helicopter on board CANBERRA in the middle of the Falklands War, the Duke of York was back. This time he arrived at the quayside by car for a reunion later tonight with fellow veterans of the conflict. Baroness Thatcher is also helping commemorate the 15th anniversary of CANBERRA's commissioning into the Falklands Fleet.
The ship went in twice. There's never time to paint her grey. She was white the whole time, and she's not small.
The liner was called up for service in April 1982 and rapidly converted into a troop carrier and hospital ship. She's 6 months in the South Atlantic, being nicknamed the Great White Whale by those who sailed aboard her. Today, those veterans were remembering the liner with affection.
We all made lots of very good friends, and with a tremendous spirit in the ship and in the whole of the task force.
What really stands out is the way Southampton said farewell. It was getting dusk, and the cars lined the whole of the coastline and flashing their headlights to wish us farewell. So it was really quite an emotional evening.
After 94 days with the task force, CANBERRA returned to a hero's welcome in Southampton and to her life as a cruise ship. Now, though, she's retiring. She completed her last ever world cruise yesterday and will leave the P&O fleet for good in September.
Very, very sad, but it has to come. It's like if you buy a motor car, it doesn't last forever. You have to replace it because eventually bits and pieces get a little bit worn.
The Duke will take the salute as 5 military bands beat the retreat at the dockside. The ceremony will mark the end of what will probably be the last Falklands reunion ever to be held on board. Richard Jones for Meridian Tonight.
On board CANBERRA, the 300 guests on board at the moment are involved in a cocktail party. Later they'll be served dinner. The guests arrived earlier today in suitable style. A visit by the woman at the very centre of the Falklands campaign, showing the importance of the role of the CANBERRA in the war, a role, with hindsight, she fully recognises.
I remember much later a Russian general saying to me, "We never thought you'd go and fight, and if you did, we thought you'd lose." And I said to him, "Britain doesn't lose."
Royalty added to the occasion. The Duke landed his helicopter on board during the conflict and was returning 15 years later. Today is the 15th anniversary of the CANBERRA being commissioned for the Falklands. The Great White Whale, as she's known, became the nation's heroine as she transported thousands of British troops to the heart of the conflict. Whilst there, she spent one night in the midst of battle in San Carlos water. Some of her crew on board again today remember it well.
When people are shooting and dropping bombs around you, it's very frightening. You wonder whether the next one's for you. So I don't think anyone was too sorry to get out of it that night of the 21st of May. It's a date that I'll never forget, that's for sure.
Later, thousands cheered as she returned, covered in rust. Her captain describes the moment as one of the best celebrations of British naval history.
I named this ship CANBERRA.
Launched in 1961, her first trip was to Australia, carrying emigrants looking for a new life. But the future of CANBERRA looks bleak. She's being retired in September. A refit to meet current safety standards would cost too much. Some say she should be turned into a museum, but her captain during the Falklands conflict thinks otherwise.
She's a beautiful ship. She's done some marvellous things. She's made millions of people, or a million, I believe, happy. She's had a very good war record. What more can she do? I mean, to lie in some berth as a museum ship, I think, would be terrible.
Whatever happens, for now she remains the Great White Whale, proud but uncertain what is to become of her. Well, joining me now is Captain Mike Bradford. Mike, you were on her maiden voyage in 1961 and also deputy captain during the Falklands campaign. What was it like for the crew going from being the crew of a liner to basically being involved in a war?
Well, a P&O cruise with a slight difference that all our guests, all passengers, were all in uniform and with a distinct lack of ladies amongst them.
Was it frightening at the time?
No, I wouldn't say frightening at all. It all depends how you looked at the situation. For us on the bridge, we saw the various attacks going on all around us, but for most of the ship's company down below, what was going to think to Canberra? Well, I think Canberra should be scrapped. I would hate to see her go to another country or another flag. The best place would be to say farewell, as she will do on the 30th of September.
Captain Mike Bradford, thanks for joining us. Now back to the studio.